Welcome back to Talk Tickers, where we like to take earnings calls and really break them down, give you the insights that you need. Today, we're diving deep into Novo Nordisk's Q3 2024 performance. We got the transcript hot off the press and all the juicy stock details, so buckle up.
I think what's fascinating here is that Novo Nordisk they're riding a wave of success. Their sales are up a staggering 24% year over year.
Yeah, you can't talk about Novo Nordisk without mentioning their GLP-1 treatments. Ozempic, Wegovy, Rybelsus. You've probably heard these names everywhere lately, and for good reason. These drugs are treating nearly 2/3 of all diabetes and obesity patients using these types of treatments.
Which is triple the number they were reaching just 3 years ago. They're absolutely dominating the market.
Yeah, it's not just hype either. These GLP-1 drugs are proving to be highly effective. Ozempic is a rock star in international operations, claiming a whopping 44% of the GLP-1 diabetes market share. And it's not just overseas. They're crushing it in the US too, with Ozempic grabbing over 50% of the market share. And Rybelsus is hot on its heels, particularly in international operations, where it snagged almost 18% of the diabetes market.
Let's not forget about Wegovy, their obesity treatment. Globally, sales have skyrocketed by 77%. It's becoming increasingly clear that obesity is being recognized as a chronic disease that needs treatment, and Wegovy is positioned perfectly to meet that need.
This all sounds like a dream come true for Novo Nordisk, but there's a catch, right?
Exactly. This incredible growth has brought a new challenge: supply constraints. They're struggling to keep up with the demand for some of their most popular products.
Yeah, they mentioned supply issues across different regions and for several products. So what are they doing about it?
Well, they're investing heavily in expanding their manufacturing capacity. Think billions of dollars being poured into both internal and external expansion efforts. But the question is, will it be enough to satisfy this skyrocketing demand?
That is a key question. It's a race against time. And if they can't keep pace, it could create an opening for competitors to swoop in. But let's move beyond the blockbuster weight loss aspect for a moment. Novo Nordisk is showing us that semaglutide, the key ingredient in their GLP-1 drugs, has potential far beyond just weight loss or blood sugar control. Their clinical trials have been generating some seriously exciting results.
You're right. The SAMOL trial, for example, showed that semaglutide significantly reduces the risk of major adverse cardiovascular events in people with type 2 diabetes. And here's the kicker. Many of the participants were already taking other medications to protect their hearts.
So semaglutide is adding another layer of protection, which is huge. And then there's the ESSENCE trial. For Namarach is a serious liver disease. They're claiming the best phase 3 results to date for this condition. Now, for those who might not know, Namarach is a type of fatty liver disease that can lead to cirrhosis and liver failure. There aren't many effective treatments available, so this is a big deal.
It really is. Semaglutide was shown to improve liver histology, which basically means it helped reverse some of the damage caused by NASH. It also helped reduce fibrosis or scarring in the liver. Think about the potential market here. It's massive.
It sounds like semaglutide could be a game changer for people with NASH and potentially for Novo Nordisk's bottom line. But they're not stopping there. They've got some interesting things cooking in their pipeline, like Cagrisema.
Cagrisema is a combination of semaglutide and another molecule called cagrilintide. They're hoping this combo will lead to even greater weight loss, think 25% or more. But as with any new drug, there are some concerns about potential side effects.
Yeah, early data suggests that Cagrisema might cause more nausea than semaglutide alone. Plus, there's the whole issue of relying on an externally sourced molecule for cagrilintide. Could that become a problem down the line, especially if Cagrisema takes off like Wegovy?
That's definitely something to watch. And let's not forget about their planned acquisition of a manufacturing facility from Catalent.
Right, they're still expecting that deal to close by the end of the year. But there's some chatter among analysts about potential roadblocks. If it falls through, what's their backup plan?
They haven't revealed specific details, but they have indicated that they're looking at both internal and external options to boost production. Their CEO emphasized their commitment to scaling up and meeting the surging demand for their products.
So it seems they have a few different irons in the fire. What about 2025? Any hints about what we can expect?
No official guidance yet, but the CFO did drop a little nugget. He suggested that if they can maintain their current level of growth, sales could jump by high teens next year. But, and this is important, that's after accounting for the one-time boost they got this year from U.S. rebates. So keep that in mind when you're looking at those projections.
Right. We'll need to factor those rebates into the equation. Now let's shift gears and put on our speculative hats for our This Is Not Financial Advice segment. Ready for a wild ride?
Always up for a wild trade idea. What you thinking?
All right, picture this. Novo Nordisk spins off their obesity care business into a completely separate company. Boom. A pure-play obesity stock is born.
Now, that's an interesting thought. It would certainly capture the attention of investors, eager to capitalize on the
Booming obesity treatment market.
Exactly. You'd have this high growth potential stock,
Yeah.
unburdened by the slower growing diabetes business. It could be like the next big tech IPO, with investors clamoring to get a piece of the action.
I see where you're going with this. It's a bold move. But it's not entirely out of the realm of possibility. There's certainly precedent for companies spinning off successful divisions to unlock value.
Right. And imagine the potential market cap of a standalone obesity company. With Novo Nordisk's portfolio of blockbuster drugs, it could be enormous. Of course, this is all just speculation, a fun what-if scenario.
Precisely. It's important to remember this is not investment advice, and any decisions should be based on thorough research and careful consideration. Absolutely. We're just exploring possibilities here. Now let's get back to reality and dig a little deeper into Novo Nordisk's Q3 performance. We've focused a lot on their U.S. success, but what about their international operations? How are things looking in other parts of the world?
They're seeing impressive growth internationally as well. Their international operations segment grew by 15% overall, with diabetes care leading the charge at a solid 10% growth.
So it's not just a U.S. phenomenon. The demand for their products is strong globally, and I'm guessing Ozempic is a big part of that international success story.
Absolutely. Ozempic holds a commanding 44% market share in the GLP-1 diabetes space internationally. But Rybelsus is also gaining traction, with the market share approaching 18%.
It's interesting to see how the different markets are responding to these products. It speaks to the global reach of Novo Nordisk and the effectiveness of their marketing and distribution strategies.
Definitely. And let's not overlook their traditional strength in the insulin market. That segment saw 10% growth overall, fueled by a 31% surge in North America.
That's a good reminder that while the GLP-1 drugs are grabbing the headlines, Novo Nordisk has a diverse portfolio. That contributes to their overall success. They're not a one-trick pony.
Exactly. Their insulin portfolio reflects their long-standing leadership in diabetes care. They've been a dominant force in this space for decades, and they continue to innovate and provide patients with effective treatment options.
Now let's talk numbers. Their financials look pretty impressive, with a gross profit margin of 84.6%. That's incredibly high, especially for the pharmaceutical industry.
It is remarkable. It demonstrates the pricing power and the efficiency of their manufacturing operations. But it's worth noting that their R&D costs have increased significantly, up 56% year over year.
That's a big jump. Any insights to what's driving that increase?
It's likely due to no robust pipeline and their commitment to developing new therapies. They're investing heavily in research, which could lead to even more groundbreaking treatments down the line.
It makes sense. In a rapidly evolving industry like pharmaceuticals, investing in R&D is crucial for long-term growth. But those investments come at a cost. How has their free cash flow been impacted?
Their free cash flow did take a hit this year, dropping to 71.8 billion Danish kroner, from 75.6 billion last year. Part of that decline is attributed to the massive investments they're making to expand production capacity. Remember those billions we talked about earlier?
Right, they're pouring money into building new facilities and upgrading existing ones to meet that overwhelming demand. For their GLP-1 drugs, it's a trade-off, but a necessary one if they want to maintain their market-leading position.
Exactly. They need to ensure they have the supply to meet demand, or they risk losing market share to competitors who can deliver. It's a delicate balancing act.
Speaking of balancing, it seems like their rare disease business is getting a bit overshadowed by the explosive growth. In the diabetes and obesity segments, what's happening there?
Their rare disease sales only grew by 3%, driven by a 21% increase in North America, which was offset by a decline internationally.
And I recall them mentioning supply challenges impacting their rare disease portfolio, especially for Norditropin, and some of their products for rare endocrine disorders. Hopefully they can get those supply issues sorted out soon.
I think it's important to remember that while rare diseases represent a smaller market overall, they are still a significant part of Novo Nordisk's business. They're committed to these patients and continue to invest in research and development in this area.
Right. They're not abandoning those patients. It's just that the growth in diabetes and obesity is so substantial right now that it's grabbing most of the attention.
It's like having a blockbuster movie. That's stealing the show from the rest of the film festival, but the other films are still there, and they're still worth watching.
That's a great analogy. And speaking of blockbusters, let's talk about their pipeline. We've already touched on Cagrisema. But what other potential game changers are in the works?
Well, aside from their efforts to develop Cagrisema as a potential treatment for obesity, they're also exploring new frontiers with semaglutide. They have trials underway, investigating its use in Alzheimer's disease.
Wait, semaglutide for Alzheimer's, that's a whole new ball game.
Exactly. It's still early days, but the fact that they're even exploring this possibility speaks volumes about the potential of this molecule. If it proves effective in treating Alzheimer's, we could be talking about a paradigm shift in how we approach this devastating disease.
That would be incredible. It just goes to show that semaglutide is more than just a weight loss drug. It's a versatile molecule with applications far beyond what we initially imagined.
Absolutely, and their pipeline doesn't stop there. They're also doing some interesting work with amylin analogs. They've initiated a phase 1 trial for amylin 355, a once-weekly subcutaneous injection. For the treatment of obesity, this could be another promising avenue for them to address the growing need for effective weight loss therapies.
It seems they're building an arsenal of weapons to combat obesity. They're not putting all their eggs in one basket. They're diversifying their portfolio and exploring multiple approaches.
And that's a smart strategy. It mitigates risk and increases their chances of finding solutions that work for a wider range of patients.
Speaking of risk, they did mention some potential legal headwinds related to the 340B drug pricing program in the U.S. What's the story there?
There are ongoing legal challenges that could impact their financial position, particularly their net sales and cash flow. It's something to monitor, although they haven't provided specific details.
About the potential impact. It serves as a reminder that even the most successful companies face uncertainties and challenges.
True. It's how they navigate those challenges. That ultimately determines their long-term success. And from what we've seen so far, Novo Nordisk appears well-equipped to handle those choppy waters. They have strong leadership, a solid financial position, and a pipeline brimming with potential.
They do seem to be firing on all cylinders, but there's always that lingering question. Can they sustain this momentum? That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? They're facing some hurdles, particularly with those supply constraints. But if they can overcome those challenges and continue to innovate, they have the potential to remain a dominant force in the pharmaceutical industry for years to come.
It's going to be an exciting journey, that's for sure. And we'll be here on Talk Tickers, breaking it all down for you every step of the way. Now, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, are you ready for another round of "This is not financial advice"? I'm always curious to hear your outlandish yet plausible trade ideas.
All right, hit me with it. What's your wildest speculation?
Let's imagine Novo Nordisk decides to embrace the metaverse. Think virtual reality, digital worlds, all that jazz.
A pharmaceutical company in the metaverse. That sounds a bit far-fetched, even for our "This is not financial advice" segment.
Hear me out. They could create virtual clinics where patients can consult with doctors from anywhere in the world. Imagine the convenience and accessibility. They could also develop interactive games that educate people about diabetes, obesity, and other health conditions.
Okay, I'm starting to see the potential. Virtual doctor visits and educational games could be a way to reach a much wider audience and engage with patients in a more interactive way.
Exactly. And think about the possibilities for marketing and branding. They could sponsor virtual events, create immersive experiences that showcase their products, even build entire virtual worlds where people can explore the science behind their treatments.
It's a bold idea, but it's not entirely crazy. The metaverse is still in its early stages. But it has the potential to disrupt many industries, including healthcare. And Novo Nordisk, with its innovative mindset and deep pockets, could be a leader in this new frontier.
Right. Of course, this is all purely speculative. We're just having a bit of fun and exploring the possibilities.
Exactly. But hey, who knows? Maybe someday we'll be attending a Novo Nordisk-sponsored virtual conference on the latest breakthroughs in GLP-1 research, all while sipping on virtual cocktails.
Now, that's a future I could get behind. But for now, let's step back from the metaverse and wrap up our deep dive into Novo Nordisk's Q3 earnings. There's one more important development we need to discuss.
You're right. We talked about their incredible growth, their promising pipeline, and their supply challenges, but there's also a big change happening in their U.S. leadership.
Exactly. Doug Lenga, the head of North America operations, is stepping down at the end of the year after more than a decade with the company.
Wow, that's a significant shift. He's been a key figure in their success, especially in navigating the complexities of the U.S. healthcare market.
Absolutely. His successor, Dave Ricks, has some big shoes to fill. He's currently the executive vice president, responsible for business development and corporate strategy. Now he'll be adding U.S. commercial operations to his portfolio.
That's a huge responsibility. But it sounds like he has experience with the U.S. business from previous roles at Novo Nordisk.
He does, and his track record in business development suggests he has the strategic thinking skills to lead them through this next phase of growth. It'll be interesting to see what new directions he takes them in.
Definitely a transition to watch. Now let's circle back to their financial performance. They're clearly generating a lot of cash. But are they using it wisely?
That's a great question. Their capital allocation strategy gives us some clues. Their top priority is investing in internal growth opportunities. We've already seen that with their massive investments in expanding production capacity.
Right. They're not afraid to spend money to fuel their growth. But what about rewarding their shareholders? Are they doing enough in that department?
They do have a dividend program in place, and they've been actively buying back shares. However, they've made it clear that buybacks are considered a flexible tool contingent upon their other priorities, which are internal growth and business development.
So it seems they're prioritizing reinvesting in the business, over showering investors with cash.
That's the impression I get. And it's a strategy that many long-term investors might appreciate. They're focused on building a sustainable and profitable business for the future, rather than chasing short-term gains.
It's a long-term vision, and it seems to be working. They're a company that's firing on all cylinders, with strong leadership, a robust pipeline, and a clear commitment to growth.
It's hard not to be impressed by what they've accomplished. But as with any company, there are always risks and uncertainties. They need to navigate those supply constraints, the potential legal headwinds, and the ever-changing dynamics of the healthcare industry.
You're right. But if they can maintain their focus, their innovative spirit, and their dedication to serving patients, they have the potential to remain a leader in the pharmaceutical industry for decades to come.
Absolutely. They're changing the way we think about treating diabetes, obesity, and potentially other chronic diseases. They're not just developing drugs, they're developing solutions that could have a profound impact on global health.
It's an inspiring story, and we'll continue to follow it closely here at Talk Tickers. So there you have it, folks, our comprehensive deep dive into Novo Nordisk's Q3 2024 earnings.
It's been a fascinating journey, exploring a company at the forefront of innovation in healthcare.
They have a rich history, a bright present, and a future brimming with possibilities. What stood out to you the most from this deep dive?
For me, it's the sheer transformative power of innovation. Novo Nordisk exemplifies how a company can leverage science and technology to address critical global health challenges. They're not just treating symptoms, they're aiming to cure diseases and improve lives. That's truly remarkable.
I completely agree. They're a beacon of hope in an industry that often faces criticism for high prices and questionable practices. Novo Nordisk is proving that it's possible to do well by doing good.
Well said. Their success is a testament to their long-term vision, their commitment to research and development, and their unwavering focus on the needs of their patients. It's a story that's still unfolding, and I'm eager to see what the next chapter holds.
Me too. And we'll be here on Talk Tickers to break it all down for you. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, remember, this is not financial advice.
See you next time on Talk Tickers.